everyone, and welcome back to Play, Pause, Rewind, Episode 5. This week we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, also known as the Snyder Cut, mid-Sunday morning for us. Niles, how have you been since our last episode?
Oh, I've been great, I've been loving all the extra content that we've been getting, of all this new stuff. Like, just the other day I was watching Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a bit later, too.
Oh, of course, yeah. But, yeah, I'm excited to talk about Snyder Cut. How about you, Dylan?
Yeah, same. Pretty good couple weeks. It's been, I bet it's 2 weeks since our last episode. Just chilling, ready for the return to normalcy that is fast approaching, hopefully. So yeah, that's things are looking up for me, I think.
Yeah, and it's great for the nerds right now and the geeks because we just I don't know, just this weekend with just like the release of Snyder Cut and Falcon and Winter Soldier, it just kind of felt like, oh yes.
Oh yeah, Friday was great. I had a good time.
All this new stuff, all this new nerdy superhero stuff. It's like, yes, this is what I want.
So as you guys know, and as you know, we've decided to ditch our news segment, but I wanted to introduce a much shorter segment called Surprise News. Audience members, just so you know, Niles does not know what we're about to talk about because I didn't tell him, but I think this story is great because we got the announcement since our last episode that Elizabeth Banks is directing a movie with the working title Cocaine Bear, and this is in part with the screenwriters of the Lego Movie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And the framing device for this movie, not framing device, sorry, the premise is based on a real thing where I guess some drug smugglers dropped a massive duffel bag of 75 pounds of cocaine and a bear found it and it ate.
Wow.
And it died, sadly, because it ate a shit ton of cocaine. But the by the time it got to the authorities, like the story, all of the cocaine was gone. So the officer who was investigating was like, there's no way this bear ate 75 pounds of cocaine. So apparently the cocaine bear part is the only true part of the movie, and the rest will be like an action thriller type thing about the crimes that occur leading up to and following the cocaine bear duffel bag. So I just wanted to share that one story. Niles, what do you think about that?
That honestly sounds like such an awesome film. The news story in itself is just absurd that a bear.
I am sad the bear died though. I hadn't read the story until just before this, and I was fingers crossed hoping that the bear just had like a roaring good time and survived, but it did not. It died within 20 minutes apparently.
That doesn't. Yeah.
But
poor bear. R.I.P. Bear.
R.I.P. Bear. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a fun movie. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be on the top of my watch list, absolutely.
Yes, Cocaine Bear coming soon.
Yes.
All right, but our main story, Zack Snyder's Justice League. We'll do non-spoilers first, briefly.
Yeah.
And go hog wild and just do full spoilers after that, and we will put that in the description and let you guys know when we're transitioning to spoilers.
Terrific. Dylan, to start this off, why don't you give us, because I know kind of the history of Justice League and why the Snyderverse or the Zack Snyder Cut happened.
Yeah.
But, I think that you can probably summarize it a little bit better. So do you want to give us a summary?
Sure, yeah, I'll do that as best I can. So if you guys in the audience remember or don't, basically, Zack Snyder has started out as kind of the main creative driving force behind DC's movies for a little while. He made Man of Steel, he made Batman vs. Superman, and he was making Justice League. Batman v Superman and Man of Steel were both, I would say, received with mixed to negative perception, and I kind of align with that too. And a lot of things kind of happened at once. Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide during the production of Justice League, and also Warner Brothers was not happy with the direction his movies were going. So as a combination of those things, Snyder stepped away from the project. When Warner Brothers brought in Joss Whedon, who wrote and directed The Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, Firefly, and a bunch of other stuff. At the time, that seemed like a sensible move, like he kicked off the Avengers universe and stuff like that. But obviously, as we've learned in recent months and years, Whedon kind of sucks. Like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Who, and part of this came to light because of Justice League, because of what we talked about in an earlier episode with Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg in this film, about the allegations of just horrible behavior and abuse on set by Joss Whedon, and prejudice that Fisher faced as a result of Whedon's behavior and Jeff Johns, who is a higher up at Warner Brothers, or at DC, sorry. So, so Whedon came over and made Justice League, and Justice League came out, and I don't think anybody liked it, because it obviously upset fans of Snyder. It upset everybody else because it was just like a bad Frankenstein's monster of a movie. You could tell there were parts that were the original version that felt very Snyder, and then there were Whedon moments. And Whedon has a very specific style of comedy and dialogue, and it like they don't work together. Snyder's and Whedon stuff just does not work as part of the same movie. And so ever since then, Zack Snyder's fan base has been campaigning with hashtag release the Snyder cut, because Snyder had eluded that his cut of the movie, which essentially means his edit, was out there. It was shot and done, and it just was going to sit on the shelf for forever. Whether or not that is a fully true statement,
right.
I do not think it is, because there was definitely more stuff shot for this movie. But basically, the idea was let Zack Snyder film his vision and release it. And so that group has some really positive elements about it and some negative ones. Like, they raised a lot of money for suicide awareness and prevention, but a lot of them also just harassed people at Warner Brothers, like mourning the death of family members or celebrating birthdays. Their Twitter replies would be just swarmed with hashtag release the Snyder cut.
Wow.
And to Zack Snyder's credit, in an interview when this was coming out, he distanced himself from Geeks and Gamers, I think it is, and they're like an alt-right geek group, or they linked to alt-right ideologies online. And he was kind of addressing that in relation to the shooting that happened this week, where a white terrorist shot up several Asian people. So Zack Snyder was distancing himself for that and saying there's no room for hate, which good on him. Stop Asian hate. Another side note. But this movie probably exists as it does because HBO Max and Warner Brothers saw an opportunity to create a massive content draw. So they let Snyder come back, make his movie as he wanted, and release it. And so now we're here. Sorry, that was almost 8 minutes of me talking.
Hey, that's not a problem. You know, it's such a complex story. You know, I completely forgot the whole part about his daughter's suicide, Zack Snyder, and that's
why it says for Autumn at the end. Autumn was his daughter.
That makes a lot more sense now. Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it just kind of existed that they fired him. So, you know, it's good to have that kind of recap and get a lot more of that information in there.
I think it was. I don't remember the exact details. It's gray. It's like he was kind of fired, but also was stepping away to take personal time to. Because his wife was also heavily involved in his productions. So I think as a family, they needed to heal as much as you can from something like that. But yeah, that's the story of the movie. So let's not spoilers.
Why don't we talk about the
let's talk about the movie.
Itself
what did you think of this movie, Niles?
You know, when I watched the original Justice League, I remember not much of it, honestly. You know, it's kind of a forgettable film, like you were just saying. Like I was just kind of watching the original Justice League just to get it over with. You know, it was just kind of like I just wanted to watch the movie. You know, it wasn't like something that like I was really looking forward to. It was just something that like, you know, I do appreciate these characters like Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman and the Flash. You know, they're all terrific. Like I grew up with DC comic characters, so you know, I still wanted to see the movie. But you know, I remember the original one being very underwhelming, and this one definitely was not. It was kind of like, you know, the Zack Snyder fan, you know, wet dream essentially. Like it's, you know, it has everything that you really want. You know, you got like some good character
from his
development
movies.
For, like,
you mean,
for superhero movies. You know, it's I feel like it hits the ball right where it needs to go into play. You know, it's not like necessarily a home run, But it's still an awesome fucking play for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. This movie has almost all of the problems I have with both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I still am a fan of Snyder's portrayal of Superman specifically, and also Batman. He made a Batman that kills people and shoots guns, which are, to me, very fundamental misunderstandings of that character. I know Batman has killed in comics before, but the no guns, no killing thing, to me, is an important part of Bruce Wayne's character, so it's disappointing to see that persist in his version. But setting that aside, because you kind of have to, this is what you're getting, I enjoyed this movie a lot, and I'm shocked I enjoyed this movie as much as I did, because I really, really do not like Snyder's previous two DC movies. I was going to watch them before this, and I sat down to put on Man of Steel, and I just couldn't watch it. I was like, I just don't like it. I don't like it. And Batman v Superman is even worse. And I hate his Lex Luthor. I hate so much about what he did in the movie. But this movie is a monumental improvement on Joss Whedon's Justice League, like night and day, which is so interesting because the basic plot is the same. There's more of it, and also, I don't think this is a spoiler, but the plot beats are the same, but the emotional core of this movie, the Snyder Cut, is Cyborg. And Cyborg is great. I have never given a shit about Cyborg, but he was so cool in this movie. And it really shines a light on the shittiness of Joss Whedon because Cyborg is an afterthought in Joss Whedon's Justice League. And that it really just illuminates exactly what Ray Fisher has been talking about. Holy shit.
I'll agree. It was definitely a big improvement, and I would agree that the emotional core is like Cyborg, and to a lesser extent you could also throw in the Flash there, but not. Yeah, he's definitely not like the emotional core of it.
No.
But it was definitely an improvement. But let me ask you this though: would you think that this movie was necessary? Given that there's already a Justice League film out there, was it entirely necessary to release this cut or no?
Well, necessary, not really. I mean, I had emotionally moved on from this series. But that being said, I'm glad this movie exists because it's an infinitely more interesting version of this movie. And I would think initially like this might cause some problems because maybe people want to see more of Ben Affleck's Batman, but we have Robert Pattinson's Batman coming up. But DC is leaning into the multiverse stuff pretty hard. Even on the CW TV stuff, they had their Crisis on Infinite Earths, like and the Flash movie, if that ever actually comes out, is bringing back Michael Keaton's Batman. So it's like you can have a multiverse stuff going on. You can have these different versions of characters existing. So I think it wasn't necessary. The franchise was kind of moving beyond these versions of the characters anyway, but I think now maybe they'll revisit that and keep some threads going from this. I think there's interesting potential for where this leaves off, which we'll talk about more later. I don't want to see Snyder's weird, mopey portrayal of Superman anymore, though. I want Superman to be Superman. But what do you think?
Yeah.
Think it was necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of along a similar line of your opinion, where it's like, I've definitely emotionally moved on from this movie. I think at this point, I'm far more invested in Marvel than I am DC. And I think that's just kind of the name of the game, and especially since Marvel's just been killing it so consistently.
Their track record is so much more consistent.
Yeah, they're so much better than DC, and like that's just kind of like a statement of fact right now. But
as close to fact as you can get. Like they're more universally praised, I would say. They are more well liked in the mainstream than the DC movies are. Regardless of your opinion on Marvel or DC, that's all valid, but you can't contest that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is immensely popular, and that is due to its success at its formula.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, was this movie necessary? Excuse me. If they want to continue to expand the DC universe and make like other movies, then yes, I think this movie was definitely necessary because like we'll get into it later, but it definitely sets up like potential for a sequel. It sets up a lot for like the continuation of the DC universe. So it's like this movie was definitely necessary if they wanted to continue down that road and continue to make like other DC movies where it could be like the Nightmare scenario or whatever. They could even explore Injustice stuff, but that's like way off in the future if they ever wanted to do that. But they had to. This movie definitely feels like it was a necessity to set up any kind of future franchise that they want to have.
Yes. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. This was also just kind of a note that I had because this movie is 4 hours long. It is a monster to get through. I watched mine through 2 days. I think that you did a similar viewing
I did
schedule,
as well.
Dylan. So I just kind of had this question right off the bat. Would it have been wiser to separate this movie, maybe into 2 different films or something like that? Kind of separate out a little bit more. Kind of like Infinity War and Endgame was for MCU.
I actually don't because I intended to watch. I went into the movie intending to do 2 sessions, over 2 nights because I didn't think I was going to like it very much, and 2, I didn't have 4 hours straight to really spare. But I started it Thursday night, and weirdly enough, I wasn't having a problem with the pacing, and I kind of wanted to keep watching. I got through the first... I got to the point, and this is a spoiler-ish thing, but it's in the original cut, too. Like, I got to the point where they were coming up with their plan to bring back Superman. And I wanted to keep going, but it was 11 o'clock on a work night, and I still had an hour and 40 minutes of the movie to go, so I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. And I just don't think there's a really good spot in this movie to cut it off and make it 2 films. Infinity War and Endgame are 2 halves of the same story in a lot of ways, but Infinity War ends. It has an ending. And Endgame picks up next. So it is a 2-part story. It's not a story told in 2 parts, and the Justice League is not.
Totally. Yeah. And if you did want to separate this out into 2 films, you would have to rewrite like the entire fucking thing. Like, you'd have to figure out, do we want it to be like mainly focused on Steppenwolf? Do we want to like, bless you? Do we want to have like Darkseid in like the second movie and him have to be the second villain? It would be a lot of rewrites for sure.
And I think the best move would be to. I would have to watch it again to really critically assess all of this, but you could probably cut out a good 45 minutes of this and it still function. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe everything was more essential. But I feel like there was some fat that you probably could have trimmed to get this story down. Not all the way to what the theatrical version was, because that was shy of 2 hours, which, seeing this full story play out, that's just an embarrassing decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this was meant to be an epic, like a massive epic film, and it is that. It's not the best thing ever, and I think it misses the mark in some ways, but to be that level of epic, I do think you need a longer running time to really get the feel.
Absolutely. And I mean, when I was watching this, it definitely like I had like flashbacks to like 300, or like Sin City, where it's like lots of slow motion, lots of like, slow building, like epic conversations where it's like, oh yeah, one line, like, that kind of stuff. And so it did feel very epic because of, how Snyder shot it.
It's the most Snyder of his 3 DC outings, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because Man of Steel, his style is completely absent. Batman v Superman may have a little bit more of it, but it's not like the speed up, slow down 300 Watchmen or 300. So, but
fair enough. So I mean, before we dive into spoilers, I guess one thing that's like kind of, or at least stuck out to me in this film was just like the CGI improvements. Like do you have any thoughts on the CGI improvements? And because Steppenwolf looked a lot more badass. Superman had his black outfit on this time.
Yeah.
Spoiler, sorry.
Yeah, I think. Well, one, I think it benefited because they didn't have to CGI off Henry Cavill's mustache. None of the footage was being shot during his filming of Mission Impossible 6.
Yeah.
Which is such a funny story that had to happen. But
right.
yeah, I think Steppenwolf initially, when it was first revealed in that picture, what he was going to look like, I just rolled my eyes because it looked so over-designed. But in motion, it worked, I think. And he had a look, unlike in the theatrical Justice League where he was just big gray man.
Yeah.
I liked the color of his armor, how you could see it. Sometimes I like how it moved around.
Yeah, I liked how it was kind of alive and stuff. He definitely looked a lot more intimidating in this one. Like, sure, in the original one, he's still a force to be reckoned with, but he's just kind of a big bad guy, like the big gray bad guy that you were just talking about. So I think he definitely looked a lot better in this film, and that made me feel like a little bit more intimidated. Maybe, I don't know. Like it just made him feel like a better villain overall.
Yeah, and we'll talk about more in spoilers, but I think just his character in general is much improved in this, and that has to do with spoiler elements. So we'll save it for like why he's better. I think has to do with his motivation, which is more spoilery. So we'll talk about it.
Should we just dive in?
Do it. Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay. Spoilers.
Spoiler town. Leave now if you haven't watched it, or if you care. If you don't care, it's fine. Just stick it out with us.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, what should we talk about first?
I think we should talk about the characters. We alluded to Cyborg a little bit, so let's just go through each of the. Let's start with Cyborg, but let's go through each of the 6 real quick, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Cyborg was really cool. I visually I did not like him. I think his body is too small for his head. I don't think they did. I don't like the design of his suit. It's his body. But it's just weird to me. I want it to be more full, but that's my only negative with him. I think Ray Fisher was really good. And really ties this whole movie together. And his dad is Miles Dyson from Terminator 2. I don't know if you knew that.
That's where I knew him from. Oh, okay. I was like, I knew I recognized his father in this movie. I just couldn't place where I'd seen him before. So
yeah,
good catch.
Yeah. Cyberdyne Systems.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely agree. Cyborg was like you were saying earlier. He's definitely the heart of the film. He's the emotional core of it, and the fact that he's like so tied through to the mother boxes because of who he is. He needed to be the emotional core of the movie, and I think the original Justice League was definitely lacking in that. Like, it still had some stuff like some development for his character, but this one did a lot better of shining a light on who he is as a person, his emotional connection with his father, and how he became who he is today. I think Cyborg, Ray Fisher did a fantastic job with the acting. I will kind of agree with you on the CGI. Like, sometimes I'll look at the rest of his body for sure, and it's gonna sound so nitpicky, but the calves just felt like really small, like little stick legs, Yeah,
and the robot half of his face is smaller than the human half. It just looked like his design was just off-putting looking. It called attention to it being a CGI creation, when if it was a little bit more fully formed, I think it would have looked less jarring to me. But maybe he was meant to look weird and alien. Yeah,
that's possible. But yeah, I would agree. Definitely the CGI, in that final sequence where he's separating the mother boxes or whatever, you get that picture of him, like Ray Fisher, looking back at Ray Fisher, and it's like, wow, they look so different. Like,
they really, he looks so different when he has the cyborg stuff on.
Yeah, it's I think the CGI definitely was a little bit wonky, but overall, I don't have too many complaints about Cyborg.
No, he was great, and especially just compared to what he was in the theatrical version, where he's essentially a footnote in that movie. It's got to feels so insulting to have that be how you were portrayed, and that I think that alone makes the Snyder Cut, the existence of the Snyder Cut, like a wonderful thing, because maybe this will help Ray Fisher's career, because he does a really good job, and he got no credit for that in the original movie.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get to do anything in the original movie, and especially now that he's been burned by Warner Brothers and essentially fired from the Flash movie, which is horrible. Warner Brothers fucked up, man. The best part of this movie, they just cut out of their upcoming film because they don't want to hold their creators accountable for their racist attitudes. So that's a shame, but it's good. Good on Snyder, good on Fisher for bringing this character to life and
absolutely
bringing him to the world, I think.
And like, at least when I was growing up, and because I definitely grew up with watching like the animated DC universe, like Justice League on
like Justice League
Network.
TV movie.
Yeah.
They got I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, that shit was so fun, and in my mind, when I think of Justice League, I don't necessarily think of Cyborg, and maybe
he was
that's just
Teen Titans in that era, right?
Yeah, he was a Teen Titans character more. Like, I definitely think that there's probably some Justice League adaptations out there where
in more recent versions he is a core Justice League member.
Yeah. So like growing up, I definitely I'd never noticed Cyborg on the team, and when I think of like the Six, I think of like Green Lantern being like the Six, or like Green Arrow, or like one of those other people like Martian Manhunter or something like that. So it was nice to see a different number 6 being used in there and throwing Cyborg into the mix, and since he was had a core role in the plot, with the mother boxes, it was like, yes, this is the right character to use, and for this plot. So yeah.
I like when a movie makes me care about a character that I didn't before. Marvel's done that in spades. I didn't care about any of those characters before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now Cyborg can be added to that list because I didn't care about him before this movie. Now I do.
Right? Absolutely.
Do you want to move on to Wonder Woman? I don't think there's as much to say about Wonder Woman. She was kind of, she's like in the same way that, like a Captain America is. She's more of a steady, like consistent force. Like she doesn't. Cap evolves over the course of the movies, but I don't see one. I think Wonder Woman's character growth is more or less complete after the first movie, and she'll be kind of the same, which is fine.
Yeah, I'd agree. She has her own standalone film where we got to learn about her character in the original Wonder Woman, and I haven't seen the 1984 one. I will at some point. But she's got her own standalone film, so we can learn more about her character. So it's okay that in this film, we didn't get a lot of character development out of her. That you're right. She's a steadfast Captain America type character who's just there to be like the core of the team and be like, yes, let's do this. Let's go beat up the bad guy and save the day. And she's just a general badass. And it was nice to see Gal Gadot being a general badass, and in throughout this movie. So
and let's transition to Batman. And one note I wanted to say about both of them before we talk about him is they had that like that kind of cliche hand touch thing.
Oh yeah,
a bunch of that's in like every romance, and then it's never brought up again. I was confused by that. Like, either start building the romantic connection or cut that, because it just confused me.
Yeah, like maybe they could do something with it, like if they made another Justice League film. But it's like that caught me off guard. I was like, why did you leave that in? Like,
it was just a weird little bit. But yeah, Batman. What do you think of him?
Batman, overall,
and Alfred, I guess, put Alfred in there too.
Oh yeah, Batman. I mean, I love Alfred.
Alfred is so cool in these movies. I really like this version of Alfred.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job with Alfred, and like, honestly, I think I like Alfred more than Batman, but that's just me. Overall, though, I do like Batfleck. Ben Affleck as Batman. He does a very good job of it, of being like, kind of just gritty, and still, Christian Bale's my favorite Batman.
He's our Batman for sure. That's the one we.
Yeah, he's the Batman for me. Maybe that'll change with Robert Pattinson when his movie comes out. But overall, Batman was, he was good throughout this movie. I don't know really what else to say about Batman. What about you?
He doesn't get a lot of growth in this one either, but I will say he's still just shooting things for most of this movie, which is a problem that is maintained from the previous film. But I really like Ben Affleck's portrayal otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Snyder had written Batman to be less violent, like, especially in Batman v Superman. Like, he's just a hateful dick in that movie. And it really breaks the conceit of the character, I think, because Ben Affleck's Batman would have shot the Joker in the face like 10 years ago. So it makes no sense that the Joker is still around with this version of the character. But Ben Affleck's performance is good. The nature of this story is not very helpful for Batman in action scenes, unfortunately, which is why he spends the entire time either in a car or on a turret.
Yeah.
So that's one critique, I guess, is like if Batman is going to be one of your primary characters, you should build it a little bit more into your plot that like there's a force he can deal with, because if he came like in front of Steppenwolf would have just chopped his head off. And
yeah.
Dead, because Batman can't compete with that, which is, that's fine.
He's just an everyday dude, he just happens to be rich. Like, that's his superpower. And, that's kind of, the gist of him. And so, it is kind of, it has like a pro and con, because it's like, well, then here's what a real human looks like, fighting Superman. He can only, like, he would have been disintegrated by, like, the laser beams if it wasn't for, like, his gauntlets,
I did like that little touch where Alfred's developing them, and he's like, it was Master Bruce's idea. He's like, huh. And Wonder Woman's like, uh-huh. Yeah, I wonder where he got that. I liked Alfred and Wonder Woman's dynamic, too, with the tea. I thought the tea was really funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
He's so concerned about how she's making the tea, and he's just, like, has this urge to be butler. There's one moment regarding Batman and the Flash that I actually preferred in the theatrical version.
Which one was that?
It was when they're going in to rescue the people under Gotham Harbor, like in the big silo thing. Go in the in this version, they just kind of go in and Flash helps. In the theatrical version, Flash is like, I don't know what to do. I just kind of run and push people a little bit, and that line is kind of dumb, but Bruce's response to him in that moment in the theatrical version is like, just save one person, and then it's like, just don't worry about anything else, just save one person, because Bruce is so seasoned that he knows if Barry saves one person, he'll know what to do next. He just needs to get for a start, and he does, and he goes, saves one person, then he saves another one, and like that was a good like teaching moment for Batman to Flash that we miss in this version, unfortunately. The few minuscule moments in the original Justice League movie that I actually like, but I really liked that little character dynamic, and I was sad that it was gone.
I can understand that. Yeah, that's a good note.
But I like Batman. I didn't like Flash. Still, I don't like this version of the Flash.
I mean, you're partial to the CW Flash.
Yeah, and that might be why I don't like this version, just because I'm so used to Grant Gustin's Flash and have like been a fan of that character for several years now. But I find Ezra Miller's performance really grating.
Really?
I just think he's so annoying.
I liked him.
Storyline with his dad, and that's from the show too. Henry Allen, his dad, is in jail wrongfully for the murder of Barry's mom. I liked the scenes with his dad. I think Miller was good in those scenes, but I just don't like his like stuttery, blah blah blah, looking around performance. I think it's really annoying.
I don't know. I liked it, because it feels like, if Flash was just doing his own thing on his own, for so long, he wouldn't really know how to be like a professional superhero.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like this really fast kid who can save the day sometimes. And, I appreciated him as a character. I did appreciate the development that he had with his father, like you were just saying. Like, that was interesting to kind of see. And, I liked how they kind of tied that in at the end, where he was like, "Look at me now, Dad." You know
Mhm.
that whole kind of line was
that was good.
Mhm.
I don't like his suit either though. I think it looks bad.
Really.
Really don't like. I just he's my least favorite character in the movie. I
That's a shame. I mean, I really liked him. I thought he was a good source of comedic relief too.
okay. Well, I'm glad it worked for you. I think people are split on him. I think a majority of the people are like you and like him, and there's a handful of people who share my opinion. What did you think of the Iris West scene with the car crash? That girl in the car is Iris West, who becomes Barry Allen's love interest.
Oh, okay. I thought that makes a lot more sense because I thought that they were gonna have some kind of connection. I liked that scene. I couldn't remember if that was in the theatrical release. It wasn't.
It was cut.
No.
That's probably one of the scenes you could have cut for time if you were trying to tighten up this movie because it does not matter to the rest of it.
Yeah, it doesn't add a whole lot to the story. You know, you kind of learn that he's just trying to get part-time jobs, and that's how he's trying to earn a living, and he just does these random acts of heroism every day. But I did like how it ended, and he was in the corner with the puppies. And
that was fun.
I
think it was hilarious how contrived that car crash was, though. It's it only happens because the truck driver is trying to eat that greasy ass sandwich, and he drops it on the floor of his gross truck, and no one would do this. He's leaning down where he can't see, pick up his sandwich, and continues to drive, and just T-bones. Does he T-bone her? No. She T-bones the truck, and it's dude, pull over.
Yeah, it's like something straight out of
it's like a Looney Tunes.
Yeah, exactly, like Looney Tunes, where it's oh dang, I dropped my sandwich on the floor.
Looney Tunes is also owned by Warner Brothers. Bugs Bunny and Justice League 2 confirmed. Put it in the thumbnail. So that was a weird scene. Those characters seem to have based on their googly eyes at each other, seem to have decent enough chemistry, I guess.
They're fine if they wanted to do something with that in a sequel movie. That's fine with me. Yeah. It's nice to see a recurring character, but overall, I would agree. You probably could have cut this scene if you really wanted to shorten the movie length. Overall, though, I enjoyed Flash's character. And,
I like the visualization of the Speed Force in this movie. I think
me too. Yeah, I think that was.
I hate the way he runs, though. He runs like idiot. That is not how you run. What are you doing? What is this?
Yeah, flailing his arms all over the place.
Yeah,
he can't control himself.
Is it Ezra Miller doesn't know how to run, or is it that Zack Snyder doesn't know how to run? Which one of them is at fault here?
I think maybe it's just exaggeration.
Yeah,
where it's he's moving so fast that he has to move every single inch of his body.
Yeah. All right, whatever.
But I mean, I did we're already in the spoiler part, so I don't really care. But at the end where he runs faster than the speed of light to reverse time, I thought that was super cool, and I hadn't seen something like that in a movie before, so I was yes, I'm all for that.
Yeah, which if you're, he didn't do it all the way, but if you're familiar with the Flash character and what his movie is meant to be about, it's going to be a Flashpoint movie. And the Flashpoint paradox happens because Barry runs back in time and saves his mother from dying. And it creates an entire alternate timeline that includes a lot of stuff, but in one of the notable things is that Thomas Wayne is Batman. Instead of Thomas and Martha Wayne getting killed, it's Martha and Bruce Wayne who are killed. And Thomas Wayne becomes this, vengeful, murderous Batman. He's still a hero, but a much darker hero. But, of course, dark, vengeful, murderous Batman becomes a little bit less interesting when Bruce Wayne is already dark, vengeful, murderous Batman.
Yeah, right.
But allegedly, the Flash movie will be a Flashpoint movie, so maybe this is teeing up for that. And I would imagine if this series were meant to continue, there would be some in-world consequences for Barry doing the little time travel thing. There always is. Not always. There generally always is. But... let's see who else. Aquaman. I like
Aquaman.
Except that he littered.
Yeah. throwing the bottle in the ocean.
You know, why are you the Aquaman movie is about how bad that is, and then you have Aquaman just chucking his liquor bottle into the ocean.
Well, I guess that scene was probably filmed prior to Aquaman.
Yes, yeah.
Filmed, yeah. So,
it should still be thought of.
But... Absolutely, yeah. Aquaman's like, I didn't watch the Aquaman movie, and Aquaman.
You didn't?
I did not watch the Aquaman.
Oh, I think
movie,
Aquaman is so cool. It's such a
really
dorky, absurd movie. It's like, I think it's almost 3 hours long. It is an epic in a different sense than this. It's like a guy on a quest to reclaim his kingdom, and it's just like massive amounts of color and schlock and just goofiness. There is a war with crab people. If that sells you on it.
Yes, that tells me. I grew up on South Park, so I know all about crab people.
Dolph Lundgren is in Aquaman.
Dolph Lundgren?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That was one thing, because Mira says she's orphaned in this, but I think Dolph Lundgren in Aquaman is her dad, and I could be misremembering that, but I'm 99% sure her dad is not dead. So there was some continuity disconnect between these movies.
Is Willem Dafoe's character
Willem
in that
Dafoe's
film
a big
too?
character in Aquaman, yeah.
Sweet.
He has a very different hairstyle, but he's in there. Willem Dafoe is like Arthur Curry's kind of mentor guy. He's
okay, cool.
His Obi-Wan in a way.
Because when he showed up in this film, I was like, whoa!
Yeah, and Mira is the love interest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I knew about that part.
Yeah, and Nicole Kidman is Aquaman's mom. Jango Fett / Boba Fett is Aquaman's dad.
Cool.
It's a fun movie. I've only seen it once, but I really liked it. But I thought Aquaman was pretty good in this.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, Aquaman was pretty good. I think, in degrees of like the character development, it was kind of on the same page as like Batman or Wonder Woman, where it was like, I don't feel like I learned too many new things about him in this film, like aside from the fact that, he's half Atlantean and that he's got a claim to the throne or whatever. And, I definitely don't think that he had much room to grow in this film. But,
no,
it's
weird that because this is his introduction to the series, and because I guess Aquaman was in production or whatever, they couldn't have him grow too much because he needed to do his primary character growth in that movie, which begs the question again, like, part of the reason Marvel worked so well is they built up to Avengers, and DC just didn't really do that. Like, it's been years, so we've just accepted this as how it is, but it's so weird to remember that Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg are only introduced in earnest in this movie, and in the original cut in an hour and 58-minute movie, and also they were for real introduced in Batman v Superman via email attachment, which was the stupidest scene in cinematic history. Not really, there's worse, but it's a bad scene. The whole thing was rushed because they wanted to catch up with the Avengers.
They were like, we got to make some money. We got
for money
reasons.
Properties. I feel like almost every bad decision in a blockbuster film series can be traced back to the money people wanting to make more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know you want to make money, executives, but when you try to make money and make bad shit, you're going to make less money.
Yeah, when you don't think it through and you rush through production just to earn a few quick bucks, you're left with the schlock and the consequences of your actions.
Yeah. I guess real quick, you want to touch on Superman? I don't think there's a lot to say on him. I think he was fine. I think he's he was in the previous two.
Yeah, I think you're perfectly right there. Superman, he was a fine character in this film. I mean, it was, at least to me, it's kind of interesting to see him be resurrected. And at least from my own memory, it's like, I don't really remember the end of Batman v Superman very well. So it was kind of nice to have, that recap at the start where he was dying and stuff.
Yeah, and it's his death that calls out to the universe, that kind of signals that Earth is ready, or Earth is vulnerable, because there are no Green Lanterns, because I guess Hal Jordan has not been selected yet, or what's the other? Jon Stewart is the other main one.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
You remember Diggle from Arrow?
I do. Yes, of course I remember
He gets
Diggle.
a Green Lantern ring at the end of Arrow.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah,
He would be
so
great.
So multiverse stuff, we could see Diggle Green Lantern again.
Yeah.
Because I think they also like did a little wink at some point because there were theories of Diggle Green Lantern for a long time. That his like name on his mother's side was Stewart or something like that. Maybe I'm making that up.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Superman is. I still don't think Zack Snyder likes or understands Superman very well. But
yeah,
he was. The scene with Alfred was all right. He seemed like positive enough there.
Mm-hmm.
His fight was cool.
Yeah, I mean all the fight sequences were neat, and he's Henry Cavill does a great job with him too. Like he's a
With
great
what he's
Superman
given,
in my opinion. He fits the bill. He looks great. But honestly, in this movie, I think what was more interesting than Superman was Lois Lane. Because I feel like in this movie we got like some more character growth for her as a character. It was like, oh, I can kind of see her grieving and dealing with this big loss in her life, and I don't think that there was as much of that in the original Justice League.
No, I think not quite as much. I preferred how she ended up in that spot when Superman's resurrected in this version, because in the theatrical version, just like off screen, Batman's like, I'm gonna bring in Lois, and he brings her in, and it almost looks like she just got there via cab or something. So I appreciated in this version how she comes back on her own agency, and she is there because she's been visiting his not his grave, but the fallen monument to him. I did not enjoy how broken Lois was throughout this movie, though, that she just quit going to work and quit doing anything, because I think Lois as a character is stronger than that. I think she would grieve, but I don't think she would stop being a reporter because she's like supposed to be the best. So I wish she hadn't fallen so hard.
I can understand that. Just to play devil's advocate, I'll just say, people grieve in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
And also, even if you are the best of the best, if tomorrow, the greatest superhero we've ever known died, I feel like that would take a while to process, especially if you were romantically entangled.
Yeah, I'm being unfair.
But I can understand that. Yeah, that
she's also pregnant in this version, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did the pregnancy test show us, or was the pregnancy test just there for us to know?
It was just there, but I think that you could also, if you were paying very close attention to Lois throughout the movie, you could tell that she looked like she was gaining some baby weight. Her face was looking a little, I don't know, a little chubbier. Not to be too, focus on appearance or anything like that.
Hopefully that was intentional for your sake, Niles.
Yeah, I apologize if it wasn't, but I do feel like if you're watching very closely and you saw the pregnancy test and you kind of saw how emotional
we were meant to infer that she was
exactly. And then at the end when Batman's like, oh, congratulations, by the way, when he's talking to Superman.
Oh, I thought he was talking about them getting engaged.
Oh, maybe it's that.
I think in Batman v, because Superman, when they're in the field, remember, I take that as a yes, the ring. So I think that was what it was for, but who knows? Apparently,
it could be both.
In Snyder's long-term plan for these movies, I have heard that there was Batman falling in love with Lois Lane in some way, which I hate, but also that, Superman and Lois's son becomes the next Batman at some point. It seems like he had a lot of weird ideas for future stuff that I would not have been on board for, but on board with, sorry. But yeah, that's a thing. So I guess that confirms that there was a little baby in there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Steppenwolf for a bit and his motivation?
Yeah, let's talk about the main villain of this film, Steppenwolf.
What I really enjoyed how he was there trying to prove himself so he could come back home. And he's the comic books, I think he's Darkseid's uncle. I don't know if that's their relationship in this version or not. They don't specify, but they are family, they say. And And I don't remember what the anti-life equation is, but it is always tied to Darkseid, and that was interesting that was name dropped in there. And yeah, I thought Steppenwolf looked pretty cool. I thought he was a decent villain.
Yeah, he was a big improvement on the original Justice League because as we were talking earlier, in the original Justice League, he definitely felt like the big gray villain who's just there to be bad for the sake of being bad. He's evil because he wants to be. And it was this film did a lot better job of highlighting the reasons why he was being evil, and it kind of breathed some life into who he was as a character. I feel like I could definitely have done with some more. I wanted to learn more about who he was and why. Some more
his betrayal was. We never find out how he betrayed Darkseid.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Which I guess if this were to continue, we would find out about that in future things, because Darkseid is obviously meant to be the future of this series. And Darkseid is, I think he's like DC's type of Apocalypse or Thanos, like that level of villain that they build up to a lot. He's I think he's more powerful than Thanos, but I don't really know. I don't know how to compare these beings.
I think he is once he has like the anti-life equation, but
yeah,
I don't know much about that, honestly.
I really don't either. But I really liked that flashback sequence where the Amazons and the Atlanteans and the like forces of men and the Greek gods all teamed up. It was cool to see Professor Lupin back as Ares. I don't know if you caught him, but remember he was Ares in Wonder Woman, and
barely.
He's the villain in Wonder Woman. He's Ares.
Yeah,
he's in there. He's in that flashback scene. He's bald.
Oh, that's cool.
Has a beard. But I was like, I rewound him. I was like, oh my god, he showed up for the. I like the elaboration on that sequence, and in the theatrical cut, it's Steppenwolf in that fight, and in this version, it's Darkseid, which was intriguing to me. But,
yeah, I liked that. And the one thing about that though is like, how do you forget that was the world where you like lost? I feel like I would mark that world with an X as I'm in retreat and be like, I'm going back to that world. But
yeah,
maybe they have an explanation for that.
I see what you're saying, and I do kind of agree. But my understanding of it was that Earth is just so transformed that it's unrecognizable to them. Okay. That was the only way I was able to make sense of it.
I can see that.
But it was kind of weird that they didn't keep track of it, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The one thing...
Oh, go for it.
Okay, yeah. Since we're talking about Steppenwolf and like kind of the villains here, I feel like we have to kind of compare him to Thanos to a certain degree. Like, I know that Darkseid's the bigger, he's the bigger equivalent for Thanos, but in this big team up movie, where you're bringing together all these superheroes together, it's kind of the same as the big Avengers movies where they all team up and they come together to fight the big baddie. So I feel like you can't help but compare Steppenwolf to Thanos, or just see other villains, and even though he was definitely improved in this movie, it's definitely not 100%.
No, he could be better. I think most things in this movie still have room for improvement.
Oh yeah,
Thanos is definitely a better and more well-developed character than Steppenwolf. I don't think that's really in question in a lot of people's minds, but I also don't think they were going for Thanos with Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
I think because with Thanos in Infinity War, the movie is his movie. He is the protagonist of Infinity War. He's the villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the protagonist. The structure is from his perspective, which is why that movie makes him feel a little bit more sympathetic, because it's his point of view that we're following. And that's one of the things I think is so interesting about Infinity War and Endgame. It's like, initially, I think a lot of people were like, oh, this younger version of Thanos is different and more just vindictive. And it's like, no, that's just who Thanos is. We were just getting Thanos' perspective on himself last time, and we're not. So, we don't get Steppenwolf's point of view, really, other than he wants to go home because he did something bad.
Yeah, I wish we could have gotten some more background on him, where like at least like even if you compare it to like other uh villains from big team up movies like Loki from like the first Avengers movie. Loki, we understand his motivation behind it. We're kind of sympathetic towards him and all this other stuff. Steppenwolf, nowhere near that.
Loki also had a previous movie though.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
So I think, I mean, I agree. I would have liked more of Steppenwolf, but what are you giving up screen time wise to get more Steppenwolf? So of
course.
It highlights the problem that they jumped in with Justice League instead of to it and you can have ensemble movies like a Guardians of the Galaxy or an Ocean's 11 is an ensemble without build-up, but not every character gets to shine equally in Ocean's 11. It's very much the George Clooney, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt show. So, and if you're going to do a Justice League, you want all of your characters to get to shine, and we don't know half of them yet. So,
it's a tough one.
That was such a benefit in Avengers 1 was we knew the villain. We knew all of the characters except for Hawkeye, really. So they didn't have to establish and build up stuff. They could just have the characters interplay. You don't get that opportunity in Justice League. Almost weirdly enough, it's having seen like Wonder Woman and Aquaman, Wonder Woman takes place before, but which came out after. Wonder Woman came out before Justice League, I think.
Yeah, it did.
But Aquaman I know a lot better because of his movie, but I didn't know Aquaman when I first saw Justice League.
Yeah.
Didn't really know much about him at all other than he was just kind of a bro.
Well, he was definitely, I remember when it came out, it was like, oh, good. It's not, just a blonde white guy. It's like,
that's true, yeah.
It's someone who's different and looks like he belongs as the king of, like, the ocean,
Yeah. Do you want to talk about mother boxes?
Yeah, I did want to talk about the mother boxes because, in the original Justice League film, I think this was the plot point that really kind of dragged for me, and it's still kind of dragged for me in this film too.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I know when you have this big team up movie where you have a villain who's just like focused on the annihilation of like the race or the species or the planet or whatever, you do need to have some kind of doomsday weapon. And the mother boxes serve that plot point well. But I think when you compare this, and of course everyone's going to compare it to, the Infinity Stones of the MCU, I feel like it's a night and day difference.
Okay.
And that's, of course, because we had all this build up for the Infinity Stones and we got to learn about them through these various movies and be like, oh, there's the Mind Stone, there's the Time Stone, and they all had their specific purposes. But like kind of my issue, or one of my issues with the mother boxes is like, they're kind of just the same thing together. Like there's no distinguishing factors between the individual mother boxes like there are with the Infinity Stones.
I wasn't entirely sure what they were meant to do for most of the movie. And even it seems like the unity, the combination of them opens the portal to Darkseid or something. But Steppenwolf got to Earth without them, so what's
I guess it's just
unity.
I guess in Unity, like when they were describing it, it was like about just change. Like it would just change the planet, like just kill everyone.
Is that what? Oh yeah, because it gets set off at the end. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, so the portal to Darkseid, was that just so he could watch?
I guess so.
Yeah, I guess it was. Okay. I guess it was terraforming Earth to make it like Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the planet where Darkseid's from, by the way.
That's right.
Okay, that's fine. They didn't say that, or did they? Maybe.
Well, they did, but it was in the whole. I think it was in the whole Wonder Woman dialogue thing of like the old gods and the whole old battle
exposition
that they had.
dump after.
The exposition dump because they didn't have the past movies to build on mother boxes or anything like that.
Okay.
But at least with the Infinity Stones you had like some development and there were differences between them. But with the mother boxes, I just don't think that they had those same advantages, and the mother boxes are just, I don't know, they just kind of dragged for me. But that's just me.
No, I kind of agree. I didn't have too much of a problem with them, but they weren't developed plot element.
Yeah.
And like they were MacGuffins. That's okay.
Yeah. They were just there, and they served their purpose, and they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just one thing at the end too, when he separated the mother boxes, like broke up the unity.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just entirely clear to me, like, because they were like, oh, the mother boxes are dead, and it's like, wait, how?
No, they went to sleep. They went back to sleep.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, well,
but also why? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like if I was Darkseid, I'd just go get the mother boxes. I'd just be like, fuck it, let's just go there right now. And get the mother boxes.
That's what he's doing at the end.
Oh well, yeah. But it's like, just go through the portal. You have the forces. Just go kill them.
I think that last, like, the look that the Justice League and him were having was meant to show, like, we're here and we're gonna mess you up if you come to our planet. But because they did just behead Steppenwolf.
Yeah, that's fair. That was a badass way to do it. Yeah,
it was. The resurrection of Superman, I think, played out largely the same. Also, by the way, but I like that little fight. I like that moment where Superman turns and looks at the Flash running by him because Superman is also super fast. That's a fun little moment. I had wrongly assumed that was a Joss Whedon inclusion. So, but I'm still not a fan of this portrayal of Superman. I just want a positive Superman. I just want him to be like. This is what I don't understand about Zack Snyder's portrayal of Superman. He makes him this distant alien who like doesn't understand humanity and is kind of apart from it. But Clark Kent grew up in Kansas. He's been here the whole time. Why is he so weird? I don't understand. Why? And I, like, credit to Snyder. He made a movie far better than I expected of him, and I'm glad he got to make it. But his portrayal of Superman is so frustrating to me because it's so wrong. And I'm not even a massive Superman fan. I'm new to this character in the grand scheme of things, but what the hell?
Yeah, he is, Zack Snyder has always portrayed him as, like, this very dark and cynical character.
And Jesus. Why is he Jesus? Stop with the Christ imagery. Did it again.
Oh, yeah, where he flies above the earth.
Where he flies into the sun in the Christ. It's like, come on, man.
Here I am. Your God has returned.
Kent is not Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't mind the Superman character. I know that you have your issues with the Superman, and
I'll talk about more why when we talk about Nightmare shortly.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, okay, so you don't have issues with him so much.
Well, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent, where it's like, yes, I would like to see a more positive version of Superman. That being said, I like the darkness of the DC universe. Batman's gritty, and there's war, and there's it doesn't feel as like necessarily light as the MCU universe does.
No, it doesn't. And I appreciate the difference as well.
Yeah.
I think, though, that would make a positive Superman even more interesting because the world he's in does not share that positivity, and having him stand apart. Like, why is the world mourning Superman in this movie? He's a weird, creepy alien who, as soon as he showed up, Earth got invaded and Metropolis got 9/11'd. Like,
yeah.
And every time Superman saves people, he's just like scowling and looking like a menacing weird dude. So,
well,
my issue is there's no, and Batman is too negative too. Like, I'm fine with a darker, grittier Batman, but I'm not really fine with a murderer Batman who drives his through people and machine guns people to death.
I can understand that.
It's my only real hang-up with the Justice League, and it's more a holdover from the previous two films, but it's the fundamental flaw of Snyder's DC universe for me is the misunderstanding of those two characters.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. there's a part of me who feels like, I mean, we both watched The Boys on Amazon.
Yeah.
And Homelander in that series is like, the Superman archetype. And that's an entirely separate universe. That's an entirely separate story.
Yeah.
They're entirely different characters, but I feel like when there is like a very positive Superman archetype in the world, there is a certain part of me where it's like, there's something going on behind the scenes there.
Okay.
That guy is not all there in the head, but maybe that's just the boys talking.
You should
to
watch
me.
Superman and Lois because, like,
yeah,
in my opinion, that is how you do Superman. And he's not weird and like happy all the time. He has problems and he has issues that he has to work through, but he has a smile on his face most of the time, and he's trying, and he's a good, happy person who has stuff he's got to deal with. But he's treated as human first. I think that's the problem is Snyder sees Superman before he sees Clark, and the character needs to be flipped. Because Clark is the real guy, and Superman is what he embodies. He becomes Superman because he can and because he wants to help people. But Clark is his personality. He's the mannered reporter from Kansas who's like a generally good guy, a little bit awkward. And that's why I like the scene at the end of this so much where he's just in the glasses and the shirt and he does the thing. He does the
that is
Superman
nice, yeah.
thing. And that's part of the fun of Superman. It's like, he's at work at the Daily Planet. How's he going to get out? And it's like, he's got to find an excuse to run away to go be Superman. And it's fine, whatever. But it makes, I think it's what, the existence of that kind of Superman, the Superman and Lois style, is what makes a Homelander so interesting in contrast, and what makes an Injustice so interesting in contrast. Like, evil Superman is cool as an idea because we have an understanding of what good Superman is, and we don't have that really until the very end of Justice League. And Snyder can't even finish his own movie with good Superman. He has to introduce Nightmare Superman, who is evil, and evil only because Lois Lane is dead.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like, you remember in Injustice, Superman is evil because the Joker like mind tricks him into Superman himself, murders pregnant Lois Lane, and sets off a bomb that destroys Metropolis, and that snaps him because he ended his whole world.
Yeah.
In this version, Lois died. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah, of course.
Nightmare sequence overall, though, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, let's talk about that nightmare sequence. When I was watching it, like, in the movie, I was really confused for a little bit, because it was like, oh my gosh, what is this time jump?
Did you remember the
happening?
first one from Batman v Superman?
I don't remember that one, no.
Okay, so I'll recap that. So in that one, Batman is dreaming. Okay, so Batman, he has this nightmare dream. He wakes up at his computer, and Flash is like reaching out of this portal, and it's like future Flash, and he's like, Lois is the key. Lois is the key.
Oh yeah.
And Batman wakes up again. So it's like, was all that a dream or was there a premonition? And in the dream, Batman he has that like trench coat and gun, of course, because this Batman always has his guns. And he's leading this like resistance movement in a desert, and the world is ruined like it is in this nightmare, and he's fighting against these troops with the Superman logo, and it ends with Batman gets captured by Superman, and the sequence ends with it looks like Superman's about to laser vision Batman. He unmasks him, and so that happens, which is the lead into this one, and we get the Lex Luthor Deathstroke scene, which I think was improved from the theatrical version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
Because in the theatrical one, Lex does not tell Deathstroke Batman's identity. He just says it's time to make a league of our own or something stupid like that.
Yeah, that's what
you may have seen this online. He has a symbol on his sword.
It's the assassins, right? What is the symbol?
League of Assassins or League of Shadows, depending on the version. But that's not actually what that is. Because
what is it?
You're gonna love this. So apparently that symbol was attributed to the League of Assassins in fan fiction. So it shows up in a Google image search as one of the top things. but that symbol is from Halo.
Oh no!
It's a covenant symbol.
It's the covenant symbol?
Yeah, it's one of the covenant things.
Oh my god, I gotta look this up.
So I don't know. I don't think anybody's gonna do anything legally about that, but that is hilarious. But I like Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke too. I hope we get to see more of him because he's cool. He's Hollywood's king of D&D. I don't know if you knew that either, but
Oh, that's so funny.
yeah.
Yeah, he's I like the way he looked in the nightmare sequence too. Like everyone's
Mohawk.
appearance. Yeah, the mohawk.
It looks
was
cool,
super
and
cool.
I thought it looked stupid when it was first revealed in an image, but now with the context that's like post-apocalypse Deathstroke,
Everyone looked super cool. I liked Jared Leto's Joker. He looked way better than he's ever looked before.
he
In
didn't
my
have those
opinion.
dumb tattoos. I also like that the "We live in a society" line was a joke that they put in the trailer. I liked that interaction between the Joker and Batman. I'm not going to say it was the best Joker-Batman interaction I've seen on screen, like some people are saying, because it's not.
Absolutely.
But I like that element of these two characters having gone at it for so long that I like when Joker's like, I'm your best friend. 'Cause in a weird, twisted way, he kind of is. 'Cause
Yeah.
And I like how he knows who Batman is at this point.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, at a certain point, it's like, come on, how do you not know that Bruce Wayne is Batman? Like,
Yeah,
you know.
And I mean that thing ends on a cliffhanger, obviously. But I like Batman's little post-apocalypse team. But Snyder can't resist his evil Superman.
Yeah.
Which, like I was saying about Injustice, evil Superman is less interesting to me because we don't have good Superman, and also, just that there's no more to that.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I liked the nightmare sequence. You know, it was definitely like, like I was expecting the movie to just be over because I feel like it had like multiple endings, and then it was like all of a sudden like, oh, I gotta sit back up and I gotta check this out because this is all of a sudden really interesting. Like it felt like all this time had passed, and like it was interesting to start seeing like, oh, this formation of like a post-apocalypse, ragtag team of like, heroes and villains, working together, Mira and Deathstroke and Joker and Batman.
And a lot of
Cyborg.
stuff has clearly happened. Like Arthur is dead. It seems.
Like all this
place.
Harley Quinn's dead. Lois Lane's dead. Like all this stuff has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, where's Wonder Woman?
And I like that. Oh yeah, she wasn't there, was she?
Yeah, she wasn't there.
That doesn't.
Flash was there. But
Flash,
yeah.
I liked Flash's post-apocalypse like weird thing.
The nightmare armor.
Yeah, and I like the element that Joker's like, you need me to fix whatever this is. And this is what I think they should do. They won't do this, but I think Snyder in his mind was going to build linearly to this nightmare sequence. I think he's playing it as Batman is having premonitions of this. For whatever reason, Batman can have premonitions. I think whether or not their premonitions can be left up to interpretation at this point, which I kind of like because Bruce Wayne is kind of paranoid in the comics. He has he has contingencies for how to kill every member of the Justice League in case they go bad. And I think it's called Tower of Babel. There's a comic book storyline where someone gets that information. Steals it, and that's when it's revealed to the others that Batman has this. But I think it's within Bruce Wayne's personality to have paranoid dreams about what if Clark goes bad. So I think it could be a premonition. It could just be Batman being paranoid. I like that ambiguity. I also, though, instead of building to it linearly, which I think what Snyder would have done if he got to continue his vision, I think they should, in the present day, be made aware of this potential future, and the goal of subsequent storylines with the Justice League is to prevent it from happening, and that happens in parallel to post-apocalypse Justice League trying to reverse the apocalypse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that would be neat.
Well, it's got so much potential, and I think that would be really neat for like them to build eventually to like some kind of nightmare thing in the future.
And I don't think they're going to let Snyder make more movies in this series,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind seeing that the story continued in a comic book or something like that. It seems like an opportunity
Absolutely.
to do that, or an animated series on HBO Max or something like that. I don't know. I feel like there's potential. I am more interested in this version of these characters after the Snyder cut than I was before. So there's that.
Yeah, and it's a cool sequence to include. And I think in the context of like the entire film, like this was like new content that like didn't need like shoot like this nightmare footage like really recently or something like that, or
yeah, I think
I don't know.
did. It was
maybe he did.
Snyder wanted to have Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker be able to interact on screen because I don't think either of those characters will be continuing in any form after this.
Yeah.
And I get that. It's cool. And I thought the interaction, like I said, was neat. I also like how Joker had all of those police badges on his vest.
Oh man, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, he has his SWAT vest on, and then the front of it is just coated in the little gold star police badges.
And when I first when Suicide Squad came out, I definitely did not really like his Joker.
No.
But this time around, I thought the laugh was fitting. I thought that was like the perfect time for him to have that slow cackling laugh because it's like, oh, it's a post-apocalypse. Yeah, I was like, that's perfect for the situation, and like his hair was great, and yeah, I thought this was the right kind of interaction for them to have, considering that they haven't been on screen together at all.
Joker is most interesting with Batman, I think. That's the weird thing about Joker the movie. It's like, well, there's no Batman. It's just a clown.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that dynamic, and
yeah, and it's nice to have that new content sprinkled in there. And just give something that the fans were absolutely craving, was something that was new and different, and a little bit more original, I'd say.
Yeah. So you want to have some closing thoughts on?
Actually before that, I just had some other things here on the screen. I think that we got to talk about Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, duh.
Because Martian Manhunter, he shows up twice in this film. Earlier, like after he actually poses as Clark Kent's mom to talk to Lois earlier in the film.
Which in the theatrical cut, that was just Martha Kent.
Oh, that's good. Good to know.
So that's an interesting change. And that character, his name is General Swanwick. He was in Man of Steel. He's the main military guy in Man of Steel.
Oh.
And he shows up in a couple scenes in Batman v Superman. So Snyder always intended General Swanwick, I think his name is, to be Martian Manhunter.
That's cool.
What did you think of Martian Manhunter in this?
It was a nice Easter egg to have. And then when he showed up at the end after the nightmare sequence and talked to Bruce Wayne, that scene was, it was okay. It kind of felt, at least from what I felt like, it just felt like Ben Affleck was like just over it at that point. He was like, let's just shoot this scene. Let's get it done. Like, I don't care. Like his lines just felt like.
I didn't feel that at all, actually.
Really? Okay.
I really I thought it was more Bruce Wayne just being like, this is where we're at. This is what the world is now. Because he's like, he's not even that surprised when a giant green alien man just shows up on his patio. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
There's you now. I didn't think the CGI for Martian Manhunter was very good.
Yeah, it could have been better. But when I think back to the animated version of like Martian Manhunter from like Justice League when I was younger, it was like, oh yeah, that's basically him. But yeah, it was a little bit jarring.
The design I thought was fine. I just didn't think the effect was very good.
Yeah, and I think I definitely would have preferred it to have Martian Manhunter have like a more substantial role in the film rather than just kind of be an Easter egg. But
yeah, I imagine he was meant to be set up for a future thing, of course.
Yeah, but it was still really neat, and if they do continue it, I'm excited to see Martian Manhunter be used. Yeah, he was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I guess one other note that I had was just like, this is a 4-hour film, and there is so much packed into this film.
Yeah.
And especially, at least for me, within those last like 20 to 30 minutes of the film, I feel like there were several different endings, and that's because they
You're
had
talking
a lot
about the
of content
epilogue
to shoot.
section specifically.
Yeah, there's an epilogue. There was like, they killed Steppenwolf, and it's like, okay, cool. And then they, bought the farm, and it was like, okay, cool. And then all the characters had like, they went off and like reunited with their families or did their own individual things.
Yeah.
Flash got his job. Cyborg went off and replayed that tape that he broke earlier. And Aquaman went back underwater, or no, he didn't actually. He went in the back of the truck. Rode off.
Yeah.
But then
He
like
met
it just
with
kind of
Mira
felt like,
and
and Willem Dafoe's character.
I forgot what he's named.
Yeah, it's okay. But it just felt like there was like ending after ending after ending. With the nightmare sequence, and then something else, and then something else, and it was like I don't know. Just to me, it was like just pick one, or find a way to synthesize it, or it just kind of felt like maybe they couldn't decide on when the ending was. But maybe that's just me.
I disagree with the exception of the nightmare sequence. I think especially since Snyder probably knows this is the last time he's going to get to do anything with these characters, I think he wanted to wrap each of them up individually, and it kind of felt like a nice conclusion to his storyline to me, or to his story to me. It's like, okay, there's going to be more that we won't see. The Justice League is formed in a sense, but they're all living their lives. It was a nice sort of sign-off. Then the only exception being the nightmare thing, because that's a very deliberate cliffhanger. Probably meant to get people to want to push for his story to continue, which is a little, I see what you're doing, Zach. Good.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I didn't mind it. It felt kind of montagey, which I like for ending.
Totally.
I prefer that to when if it had just stopped with the Justice League standing on the silo. Like, I hate when movies end, big movies end like that, because I want to know the fallout of this. I want to know where everybody is.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I was okay with it.
Yeah, I think that was just maybe that was just me being exhausted from the
Probably.
runtime.
It's a long movie.
Yeah. So one other thing here that I just kind of wrote down was that, I noticed, at least when I was reflecting on it and I was trying to remember the original Justice League, I was like, oh yeah, there were some things taken out of this version that I did kind of enjoy in the original film.
Yeah.
That weren't really in here, but at the same time, I guess it was kind of when I think back on them, I'm like, really, why did Joss put that stuff into the film? So in the original Justice League film, there was that whole sequence in kind of the final fight scene where Flash and Superman were moving civilians away from the town.
Yeah.
And in this one, none of that. They didn't care if there were any civilians around.
Well, they say early on that it's been abandoned because of a nuclear disaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks.
So yeah,
I guess I didn't pick up on that.
But that family, remember the family that kept getting cut to in the 2017 one, and that was obviously added in reshoots, and I think that was part of, because a big criticism of Man of Steel that I made too, is that so many civilian lives are just ended, and there's no regard paid to that by Superman.
Yeah.
Just flies through skyscrapers with Zod. So I think that was an attempt to address that, but it's okay, the movie established it's abandoned early on. Just say that. It's fine. It's kind of a cop-out, but whatever. Because I do... Yeah. I like that comedy bit where Flash is pushing the truck, and then it cuts to Superman just dun dun dun, carrying the building. That was funny, but it tonally, I don't think it really fits here. Do you agree?
Totally.
With that, or?
Yeah, I think it was definitely. Yeah, that was definitely. It was more fitting for the Joss Whedon version, but when you kind of think about it, it's really you put that into the film over other things that were more character development for Cyborg and character development for
deliberately
other things.
Cut out almost everything Cyborg from that movie.
And instead, you decided to put in this thing about moving civilians away from the town. Okay.
We cut back to that tiny Russian family 4 times in theatrical Justice League. I'm glad that was cut. It was not needed.
Totally. And, one other thing that was kind of taken out was going back to Flash and Superman, their whole kind of like speed thing, they had like that friendly speed competition in the post credit,
yeah,
which is fine. You don't need that in this film, but it was like, oh, that was kind of a funny
I
thing
wouldn't
to
have minded
have
it. I kind of liked that moment.
Yeah,
because it's a recurring thing, like between Flash and the super people. Like they do it in Supergirl too. They race off screen, I think, and they never like reveal who won the race.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It's kind of a fun little detail. And also, like Barry and Oliver fought each other off screen just to see who would win, and they never reveal who won that confrontation.
Yeah,
really. It's like it seems like Barry and Oliver have different opinions about who won the fight, which is fun. Like, and it's that's a one frustrating thing about the DC series in general, where compared to like the Marvel series is and Marvel is a bit like there's so much of it now, but because there's so much of it, you can have these little character beats that are like fun details, and the audience like picks up like, oh, I know this, I get this because I remember it from that thing. Like when Cap lifts Thor's hammer in Endgame, that works because of that fun after party scene in Age of Ultron where there was a joke that became a setup.
Yeah,
and like we don't have that in DC. Because there is just simply aren't enough of them. And we do in the CW shows, but those are getting to the point where they're hit or miss in terms of quality. So it's like you get those moments if you watch all of them, which I did until recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I would have liked that little post-credit scene.
Yeah, and I mean, there were definitely some things that were taken out of this. I mean, one other scene that I noticed that was taken out was like that lasso of truth scene with Aquaman. Where he like sits on it and then he's like spouting all this
crying.
stuff. Yeah, and then all of a
funny.
sudden he like stands up and he's like, "Oh, I was sitting on the lasso of truth." Fuck, like, I thought that was like a funny scene from the Joss Whedon film that wasn't in this one, but not entirely necessary, of course. And I'm glad they kind of cut it out as well.
Yeah, I did enjoy. This movie takes itself very seriously.
Yeah, it does.
It is, I mean, I'm glad it is. As good as it is, it's not great, I don't think, but it is good and it's fun. But it does take itself very seriously. But as a result of how seriously it takes itself, occasionally it has moments that I can only describe as being metal as fuck. It's just like they're just prepping and then electric guitar riffs start playing and it's like ridiculous, but it works for some inexplicable reason. I don't know why I like this movie. I don't like the other ones, but I like this one, and it doesn't do much different than the other two. This just works better for me for some reason.
I think, it does play into that seriousness where it's like, I think this movie does kind of need to take itself very seriously, and it's difficult to articulate why we like this movie and why it works better than the Joss Whedon one. But, you could definitely pick it apart for 4 hours, like probably even longer than the runtime of this film and still be like, well, why do I like this movie more?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just, and it's getting general positive reception too.
That's great.
It was sitting at like a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see if it's still there.
Yeah, let's figure out what is the score right now?
Because it's like, where are you? 74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow, that's not bad.
No,
that's pretty good.
and let's look at what original Justice League was, just for comparison. Justice League is at 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's a 30% difference.
Because it's way worse.
Yeah.
But I even though I don't totally like and agree with Snyder's vision for this universe and these characters, I like that we now have a semi-complete version of it. He has a trilogy.
Yeah.
He made a trilogy, and that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad that he made this film, and I'm glad that I watched it. But let me ask you this question, though, because I feel like, with a lot of Marvel movies, I can go back and I can rewatch them time and time again. Like, I can definitely go back and rewatch Endgame and Infinity War because those are, fantastic movies. Like, am I going to rewatch them, like, several times in a year? Probably not. But, I could probably rewatch both of those movies like every 2 or 3 years because like
Mhm.
they're gonna hold up over time.
Yeah.
And they have like they're the bar of quality, I'd say. So I guess my
for the
question to you,
genre, I think. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I'll just pose this question: do you think that you'll ever watch Zack Snyder's Justice League again?
At some point, I will. I think I liked it enough
Right.
to rewatch it. And if he gets permission to do something further with it, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
That's something that I did not think I would say. I want to see a sequel in some form, be it movie, show, comic, whatever. There are a lot of ideas that he said that he has that I don't want to see, so I hope he changes that. But
Yeah.
like my interest is piqued in this version of the series for the first time in the entirety of his run as director on these. So I think I won't watch it again for a long time, but I will watch it again. I'll never watch the theatrical Justice League again. I saw it once in theaters and I forgot about it within a week. And I was gonna rewatch it for this to compare, but like what? Why? It's just bad, and there's no real point. So what about you? Do you think you'll rewatch it?
Possibly. When I think back to the original Justice League, there is no way in hell I'm rewatching that movie. Like it was, I forgot about it. It was not a very great movie, and the 40% Rotten Tomato rating makes perfect sense. So it's like, my time is better spent watching other movies for sure. But this movie, I could see myself coming back and rewatching. Maybe like in several years or something like that. But it is a commitment at the same time. It's 4 hours long. And that's kind of my hesitation to be like, oh, do I really want to sit down and watch this whole movie again?
Right.
But, if they were going to come out with the Justice League 2 or like, if they were going to eventually do the Flash movie or, any other kind of stuff in the DC universe, I might go back and rewatch this movie because I do think it has some rewatchability to it.
Yeah. I have one nitpick that I forgot about.
Oh, lay it on us.
Batman is too well lit in this movie.
Too well lit.
Yes, he's in like the lighting in the rooms he's in is too revealing. He looks ridiculous. I think Batman has like one of the coolest aesthetics for superheroes, but there's a reason Batman goes out at night. It looks better. When he blends into the darkness a little bit, I think he was too well lit. It's a weird tiny little thing, but I'm like, stand in the shadows, Bruce, please, when you're having conversations. Like, that's as corny as it is in that Justice League cartoon from when we were kids. At the end of the TV movie episodes that started the show, when they Justice League, remember Batman's like, I won't join the team, but I'll always be there if you need me. And he says, like, from the background in the shadows, like, I understand it's kind of in conflict with what Bruce's role is in this movie, is kind of the guy getting the team together, but I like Batman is kind of, he's there, but he's off in the back. Yeah. He's kind of the, just a weird little thing, just we saw too much of him in his suit in good lighting. But
I'll agree with that, yeah.
That's funny. Would you recommend the Snyder Cut to people?
Yes, I would recommend this movie. Do I think that everyone needs to watch it? No, probably not. But like, if you're gonna watch like a movie about the Justice League, if you're into the DC universe, then yes, this is the movie that you should watch. Don't waste your time on the original one.
I agree. Yeah,
this is the one to watch. Like, if you're gonna watch any Justice League film, watch this one because this one has all the content that you need. But yeah, would you recommend this film?
I think I would. I think I echo your sentiment exactly. The original theatrical Justice League has been replaced. There's no need for it anymore. It's better. It's a better movie in basically every way. And it's somehow more fun. I think it's one of Snyder's better movies too.
Yeah. I'd agree. I still like Watchmen. Absolutely.
I think Watchmen is better, even though Watchmen as an adaptation of Watchmen is like offensive.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, couldn't be more faithful. Thematically, horribly wrong. But, that's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is overall a good movie to watch. If you're ever looking for a good superhero tale, that's interesting and it builds on some you know interesting DC characters and some villains, and you want to see some live action Darkseid or live action Steppenwolf, I'd watch this movie. I'd say watch this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. One final thing, and I think we should move on. Aspect ratio. What did you think of it?
Oh, I didn't mind it. When that initial warning flashed on the screen of being like, "Hey, this is going to be in the original ratio to preserve the integrity of the film," I was like, "What? Okay, whatever." Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't really mind it. I thought it worked just fine. What about you?
I'm kind of in the same, but I didn't notice it for the most part. I kind of sunk into it, but there were some shots and scenes I thought benefited from it, but then there were others where I felt like this doesn't feel like it was shot for 4:3, and I think I'm missing something, or like a character would be a little bit more out of frame than it felt like they should be. But for the most part, I thought it was like, I don't have an issue with an aspect ratio being changed up. It's cool,
Yeah. Are there some people that were complaining about the aspect ratio?
Yeah, I mean, some people were like, I think it's the same like section of superhero audiences who complain about anything being slightly out of the most conventional norm.
How dare they?
the same people who are like, what is this WandaVision? Why is it the sitcom? Like, why don't you watch the show and find out, guy? It's that type of people in the audience.
Yeah.
But I think we talked about Snyder Cut enough. We did.
Yeah, I think we probably talked it a little bit to death. So,
so let's transition over. Just talk about what we've been watching, reading these last couple weeks. I think we both watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. You want to give some quick, non-spoilery thoughts on that?
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. We both watched it. Came out this past week, with the Snyder Cut, and I really enjoyed this first episode. You get, without diving too much into the context of it, you get some more information on Sam, who is Falcon in the MCU universe, and Bucky Barnes, who is the Winter Soldier. And, I think this is going to be an awesome kind of return to basics Marvel show. Like, it's not going to be like WandaVision at all. It's going to be, let's get back to what makes the Marvel universe so great, and that's the characters. So it's going to be really focused on character building and
more traditional Marvel for sure. It starts off with a pretty cool action sequence with the Falcon, and I like the supporting cast for both Sam and Bucky that we get introduced to.
Yeah,
I'm
very excited to see
cinematography, which is not something you would normally say about a Marvel property. There's a I won't say too much because spoilers, but there's a scene in therapy, and I thought the cinematography of that scene was really effective at getting me on the same page as the character who was in therapy. And I think we'll do an episode on Falcon and Winter Soldier when it concludes. But
absolutely, good
start.
Yeah,
it's going to be more interesting than I thought it would be, I think.
But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome series, and it's especially since both of these characters I feel like have always kind of been background characters. You know what I mean?
Well, like same Falcon's with Wanda and Vision. I mean,
we're gonna get to explore these background characters a little bit more and add some development to them, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the series has in store.
Yeah, cool. I finished the Light of the Jedi Star Wars book.
Nice.
First of the High Republic. It was pretty good. Funny thing, because what you said about Homelander and good Superman earlier, like something suspicious. That's how I felt reading that book about the Republic and the Jedi, because they're supposed to be the best they've ever been, and they're like, we are all the Republic, we're here for everybody, we're going to help everybody out all the time, make the right decision, and they're following through on that in this book. But every time I'm reading, I'm like, that's some bullshit. In the Star Wars prequels, I know what you are. They're not that yet, so it's like a disconnect for me, because they are being honest and following on it, but I just don't believe them. But you did you end up reading that Ship of Theseus thing at all?
I'm working my way through it. It's I've still got a long way to go in it, of course. But it's still very interesting because like I was saying the other week, like if you were tuning in, I'm reading the Ship of Theseus, partially inspired by WandaVision because they discussed it a little bit, and the book, it's not necessarily the thing that they were talking about in the show. It's an entirely different story on its own.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to kind of see like the whole concept of it because it's got these multiple levels of narration, and there's these. There's this whole conversation going on in the margin of the book, where it's like these two students basically, talking back and forth through their notes. So it's a very complex book, but I think it's because the whole Ship of Theseus thing was about the planks and what is really the Ship of Theseus. Is it the recreation of it? Is it the original part of it? It's all kind of the same thing, and I'm starting to see a similar theme emerge from the book.
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, still got a ways to get through it. Absolutely.
Neat.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else have I watched recently.
I read some the first 2 volumes of the Thor comics where Jane Foster has taken up the mantle.
Cool.
Yeah, they're cool so far. I'm enjoying it. I realized there's a crossover comic called Original Sin, which is where Thor becomes unworthy. So it's a little bit unclear exactly why he's unworthy. It's Nick Fury whispers something to him, and that's what makes him unworthy. Whatever he heard from Fury caused him to not be able to lift Mjolnir anymore.
But interesting.
Yeah, so it's the storyline's really interesting because Jane is on Asgard and has cancer and is not doing very well. And being Thor is accelerating her cancer's growth. So she's taken up the mantle and wants to be Thor, but it's also killing her. And I think Thor, he's going by Odin's son now because he gave the name to Jane along with... he does not know it's Jane, by the way. Only knows at this point. No one knows it's Jane. She's keeping it a secret. But Odin's son, since he lost the hammer in this comic arc, is way more interesting right now too as a character. So
that's cool.
A lot of fun to read.
Well, that'll be great for Love and Thunder too. You'll already have the background knowledge.
Yeah, I'm doing the homework.
Well, that's neat. Yeah, I was just going back through my head and it's like, oh yeah, the other week we got like a snowstorm here in Colorado, which is where we're both based. So we just decided to like take a cozy day inside, and I rewatched some films. So I rewatched Toy Story 2.
Nice.
Oh man, that made me like I was starting to like cry a little bit, Oh, those movies have like a special place in my heart. So yeah, I'm happy to have Disney Plus and be able to rewatch, those old classic animated films and stuff.
Yeah. I think I talked about it last time, but I watched Raya and the Last Dragon. It was a good movie.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, we might watch that at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? I don't know. I've just been rewatching. I've been on like a little bit of a rewatch streak still on It's Always Sunny and Portlandia. Those are kind of my 2 go-tos right now. I need to break out of that mold and watch something new soon.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good spot to call it for the week.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for, if you made it this far, listen to our podcast. Thank you so much. We had a great time talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League today.
Yeah. Genuinely, thank you. If you want to reach the show, #PlayPauseRewindPod on Twitter is a good way, or playpauserewindpod@gmail.com. Those will both be that email address is in the description. We have a link tree down there. If you want to find more from me, D-Day Movies on YouTube and Twitter, and at DylanD1026 on Instagram. Also link treed down in the description. Niles, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram right now. At Niles Got No Styles. Give me a follow if you want or whatever. Yeah. I post the content on occasion. And Dylan, actually, on D-Day Movies, he just posted a video on Stannis.
I did, yeah. That's been up for think it came out right after our last episode, so thank you for that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a good video. I'd recommend you guys go check it out.
Thanks, man.
It's got some interesting talking points about Stannis Baratheon from Game of Thrones. That whole character.
Yeah, I tried to mix it up a little bit from the season 8 rant show. That is the only thing people talk about with Thrones now. So
yeah,
I have that as well. It's not a rant, but I do have a season 8 video. But the Stannis video is my newest one. So yeah, check it out if you want. And with that, we will see all of you guys back in 2 weeks. We don't know what our topic is yet, so we'll figure that out, and you'll find out via thumbnail in 2 weeks from now. So, everybody, have a good 2 weeks. Stay safe. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.